Hello, welcome to this week's Simmonds Real Estate Topics. I want to start a 6-week series this week on how to analyze properties. A lot of people think you just pick a number out of the air, and some realtors do that, but I don't. I come from a 20-year management background in the forest industry and sawmilling, and very structured and systemized. So the topics I want to cover are over the next 6 weeks are single family dwellings, how to value them, strata, bare land, waterfront, commercial, and how investors look at properties, and then renovation projects, how to analyze whether the project's worth it to you or not if you're trying to get a monetary gain from the project. So when I came into the real estate business about 20 years ago, there wasn't any software to do a proper analysis. There's software that shows you what the comparables are, but nothing does the analysis. And as a realtor, you have to have a lot of experience to know what attributes and characteristics of a property detract and add to them, and to buy how much. So I'm going to screen share with you and show you, this is what we get from the board. So it's called a comparative market analysis. So what this does is you put your search parameters in that closely match what you're trying to analyze. So let's take this one for an example. Here's a beautiful home. And here are the active listings that compare to that home in that neighborhood, which the board pulled up strictly on the search parameters that I put up there. But much more importantly are the comparable sales. We can't go comparing something that's listed and say, oh, well, mine's like that one. That price hasn't sold, that property hasn't sold, so it has not proven its price point. So it doesn't have much value to us because anybody can put anything they want. So then we get into the actual sales, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comparable sales. Now here we get to the summary. So there's only 2 on market right now that compare to this property, but 6 have sold. But I had to go back 3 years to get those sales. So the average sale value is $663. Now, what isn't taken into consideration here in any of theirs, this is how does one compare to the other? Is one upgraded? Is one not? And there's a big price difference here. $710 is a top price and $605 is the next. So where does this, when you're trying to analyze, fit in that $105,000 range? Also, some of these have come up in value because they were sold a couple of years ago. So I have to calculate that in and take that into consideration. So this is an intense kind of job that I enjoy doing because I know it's the only way to do it competently. So this is what you normally see from a realtor. Okay, here's what the sales were. But then I take this a lot further. I'm going to stop the share for a second here because we're going to have to find a new program. So this program, so when I came into real estate, I had quite a bit of software knowledge from my sawmilling days. And so my partner, Lenora Baker, and I created this new piece of software called Comera, which is short for comparative market analysis. So this does incredible analysis. There's actually nothing in the market in the world today like this product, and I use it every day. It's absolutely invaluable to me. So what I go do is there's a tremendous amount of things going in behind the scenes in this program that you can't see. It has pricing indexing. So if I use a comparable that sold 3 years ago, it automatically goes like that, and it calculates what that home's worth today. So that's an incredible feature. So let's start here. So here's so you can see here it says subject property. So we put the address up there. Then we put all the attributes in here. The year of the home, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, and they all carry different values, and it carries the values along here to here. The square footages, whether it has fireplaces, RV parking, what kind of heating systems it has, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whether it has an ocean view or not. The square footages, we have to adjust for them. The view, here this one has an ocean view worth $40,000. Then we put in a minimum of 3 comparable properties. So we're going to jump to the next one here. So this is comparative number 1. And so I go and do the same thing through comparative 1. I put all the property attributes in there, plus and minus out, with better landscape, worse, better kitchen worse, RV parking not, what type of heating system, all those things, what condition, what's been upgraded, what hasn't, what the neighbor, does a neighbor's next door neighbor a garbage dump, or is it a hoarder, or is there a big blue tarp on, all these things that affect this value that you can't see on paper, that you do have to adjust for because it all has psychological impact. So this one's coming in at 640,000. The subject property is coming in at 640 compared to this particular sale. So we're going to jump to next again here, go over the second comparable, which is over here. And because our system's sort of frozen here because we're working more than one thing, it's just going a little slower. So there we go. We've got a different address here, different sale. Did all the same thing down there. Calculated out all of the values, and this one came in at 670. And then over here on the third comparable, same thing. We went up and down and adjusted everything out, and it's coming in at 650. So we go back here to the subject property. And number 2 was the closest comparable, so I put 2 in there. The reason I do that is in our market area, we have no 2 top properties the same. They're all so different. So we weight the one that we find is the closest comparable more heavily to the other 2 comparables, because quite often one is very comparable and the other 2 are very not comparable, but we're forced to use 3 comparables. So there we go. So this one's coming in telling me that the average list to sell ratio was 98.28%. So that means that, for what a property was listed from these comparables, it actually sold at about 2% below ask. So that's a good thing to know. And then it's coming out valuing our subject property here at $661,633. And so it's calculating a list price based on this 98.2% at $673,000. Well, that's a very odd number. That's an odd number to list with. Now, if the market was, so this is the hard side, the analytical side of valuing the property, but then there's the soft side, because this does not tell you what's going on in the marketplace. We happen to be in the weirdest market in the history of humankind. So, a year ago, I'd be saying, hey, let's be a little bit aggressive and list at 689.9 because the market's slowly, slightly going up still, and we may be finding, a buyer at that range. Let's test the market at that level. If we don't have any activity in 2 weeks, we know we need to lower it. Part that's dangerous about this is sellers get stuck. Their mind gets stuck on that high number, and then when we go to talk about reducing it, they think they're losing something when actually they're not. They just didn't gain something that we thought we might. We just didn't want to leave any money on the table. So I have to carefully navigate through that psychological issue there. Another thing about pricing is 689.9 is a good number because it's a much better number than 690,000. And it's only $100 difference. It's been proven over and over and over again in studies that $100, just putting it below the cusp, makes a huge psychological difference. Buyers are going, oh, it's only in the 680s instead of, oh, it's 690. It's just a difference. Also, to really pay attention to in the marketplace with your listing price that you decide, you and your realtor decide, is that people everybody who's a serious buyer is set up with their realtor on private client services, which is an email services that send you emails automatically. Well, if you listed your house at 692 and your search parameters of the buyers are all set at 690, they wouldn't even see it. A better example is in $25,000 increments. Let's say 800,000, 825, 850, and 900. So if you priced at 901, no one would even see it. So your listing doesn't exist. But if you had listed at, just 100 below that, 799.9, you're going to get all those 7 to 800 group suddenly seeing your listing. So that's really critical. There's many things to take into consideration. And even at all of this rationalizing and doing all this scientific work and all that, it's still an opinion. So what we do is I do my very best to do it this way using all these methods, and then we test the market, and then we let the market tell us. The market will, if you're not having any showings, that means your price is too high. If you're getting constant feedback that too much work, that always is a polite way of saying the price is too high for what you're selling here, and I can't fix it for what the property's worth without overcapitalizing for the area. That's really what that means. So I'm going to stop screen sharing here. So that's your lesson today on valuing single family dwellings the way I like to do it. And I focus on this tremendously. I mean, this is a very, very important thing. And to get the price right is extremely important. So that's the lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for joining me. If you're thinking of listing, call me, please. We're having a severe lack of listing inventory this spring. I am a listing specialist. Please call me, Debbie Simmonds, eXp Realty, 250-246-0708. Professional, caring, kind.